The next book up is called Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art by James Nestor. Really interesting book. I also really like the front cover. This is supposed to be like lungs. This book is from 2020, has 230 pages, and James Nestor, the author, is a journalist, and he's written a handful of books about the ocean, virtual reality, and he's written articles for publishers like The Atlantic, The New York Times, San Francisco Chronicle, NPR, Scientific American, and other stuff. I haven't read other stuff by him, but I did really like this book. It covers historical changes in what we understand from looking at skulls. How has our respiratory system changed over the past couple millennia? What does that mean for the way that our mouth is structured versus the way that our nose is structured? Should we be breathing through our mouth most of the time? Should we be breathing through our nose most of the time? What happens to the human body when you breathe through one versus the other? And the author actually goes through and describes his own process of studying that with himself and some other scientists. What did they learn after only breathing through their mouth for an extended period of time, or for only breathing through their nose for an extended period of time? How did that influence them? Did they notice any changes? What changes did they actually study in terms of things like their blood oxygen content, their available O2, and those kinds of things. It also covers different ways that humans have breathed over time. So if you've heard of I can't remember where he's from, but his name's Wim Hof. He kind of created this breathing method where he lives in a place where it snows a lot, and he created this breathing method where he can kind of maintain his body and regulate his body to function normally, even if he's at sub-zero temperatures. So super fascinating in terms of just a human and how he works. But the book goes over different kinds of breathing methods, like the Wim Hof breathing method, different kinds of meditative practices that use different ways of breathing and inhaling, holding your breath, and then exhaling for a certain amount of time. Different kinds of techniques versus where you plug one nostril and breathe through one and plug the other and breathe through that. And the different kinds of effects that could possibly have. It also covers some interesting information in terms of what we understand neurologically in terms of the respiratory system. What do we know about breathing? What do we know about... It doesn't really cover smell. Smell would be something that, if you're interested, I would recommend this book, because it talks about the difference between how does your brain connect to your nose. And in this case, we're concerned with how does your brain, or how does your breathing affect everything, right? For example, did you know that breathing through just one nostril versus the other one, depending on if it's your right or left, doing just one nostril at a time influences your nervous system in completely opposite ways? So breathing through one nostril affects the nervous system in one way, and breathing through the other nostril affects the nervous system in a completely different way. And that is something we've learned over time, but I didn't know that before reading this book. There's a handful of other interesting things in here. And if you're somebody that's into meditation or just interested in breathing, which hopefully all of you are, I highly recommend it. Obviously, there's a pretty good trend in the books that I've read that have to do with science, and they're mostly all nonfiction. But if you're interested in learning about breathing, if you're interested in meditation and doing different kinds of breathing techniques to get into meditation, or you just want to learn more about the respiratory system, I highly recommend you check this out. Really interesting read.